morning, Fridolin wakes beside his wife in their apartment, in their bed, in the life that was waiting for him when the carriage finally brought him home. He does not go to work. He goes looking for the villa. It takes him most of the day to trace the address, to match the road the carriage took against a map, to find the gate, to determine whose name is attached to the property. But he finds it, and he goes to the door. A servant answers. Fridolin explains that he wishes to speak with the owner of the house. He gives his name, his profession, a doctor, a respectable man, someone whose credentials should, in the ordinary functioning of Viennese society, grant him access to a conversation. He is shown in. The owner receives him with what Schnitzler describes, in language that has lost none of its precision across a century, as perfect courtesy. Nothing in the man's manner suggests alarm, evasion, defensiveness, or guilt. He offers Fridolin a seat. He listens to what Fridolin has come to say. Fridolin describes the gathering, the masks, the gate, the password, the moment he was unmasked, the woman who stepped forward to take whatever punishment had been intended for him. The owner listens to all of this with an expression of mild, genuine-seeming confusion. The expression of a man being told about an event he has no memory of attending, because as far as he is concerned, it never happened. He says there was no gathering at his house on the night in question. He says he has no knowledge of any woman matching the description Fridolin has given. He says, with the same unbroken courtesy, that he hopes Fridolin is not unwell, that perhaps the stress of his profession or some other private difficulty has produced confusion about where he was and what he experienced. He is solicitous. He is patient. He is, in every observable respect, a perfectly reasonable man responding to a confused visitor with exactly the kindness such a situation calls for. He shows Fridolin to the door. This is the scene this episode is named for. Not because the warning Fridolin received, the woman's whispered caution, the room's silent verdict, the carriage ride home with its implicit instruction to forget, was delivered with raised voices or visible threat, because none of it was. Every interaction Fridolin has, in the days following the gathering, with anyone connected to what happened to him, is conducted with exactly this register of courtesy. Calm, reasonable, patient with his apparent confusion, solicitous of his well-being. Nobody shouts at him. Nobody threatens him directly. Nobody needs to. The owner of the villa does not need to deny anything aggressively, because aggression would suggest there is something to deny. Calm, patient, faintly concerned courtesy suggests instead that Fridolin is the one with the problem, that his account, however sincerely held, simply does not match reality, and that the kindest response is gentle redirection rather than confrontation. This is the machinery of denial at its most refined. It does not need force. It needs only the complete, socially reinforced confidence that nobody will believe the man making the accusation over the man receiving it with such composed sympathy. Schnitzler understood in 1926 that this is how power actually protects itself most of the time, not with violence, with manners. Fridolin keeps looking. He tries to find Nachtigall. The pianist has left his lodgings, not fled exactly, nothing so dramatic, simply gone, the way people who are useful to a system and then become inconvenient to it tend to become unreachable without anyone needing to explain why. He tries to find the woman from the costume shop, Gibbezer's daughter, the young woman who looked at him through a closing door with the weary familiarity of someone who had seen this before. She, too, is gone. He opens a newspaper one morning and finds a death notice. An unidentified woman, found dead under circumstances the notice does not specify in any detail. No name, no family listed, No further information offered to the public. He goes to the hospital morgue. He looks at the body. He cannot say with certainty that it is the woman who saved him. He also cannot say with certainty that it is not. The novella refuses to resolve this. Schnitzler will not give us confirmation either way, because the absence of confirmation is itself the point. The system that protects the gathering does not need to silence its witnesses through visible violence. It only needs them to become unreachable, untraceable, unconfirmable. People who once existed clearly enough to speak and now exist only as absences that nobody can quite account for. In 2005, the Palm Beach Police Department opened an investigation. It began with a single complaint, a mother reporting that her 14-year-old daughter had been sexually abused by a man named Jeffrey Epstein. The investigation grew. By 2006, federal investigators in the Southern District of Florida, under the authority of U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta, had identified more than 30 alleged underage victims. They prepared a 53-page federal indictment. Under the charges contained in that indictment, Epstein could have faced decades in federal prison. The indictment was never filed. Instead, in September of 2007, a different document was produced, negotiated privately between Epstein's legal team and Acosta's office, finalized without the knowledge of the victims, whose testimony had built the case in the first place. It was called a non-prosecution agreement. We are going to read you what it actually said. Epstein would plead guilty to 2 state charges, soliciting prostitution, including from a minor, not federal sex trafficking charges, state prostitution charges. He would register as a sex offender. He would serve 18 months in a county jail. He would pay financial damages to a defined group of victims. In exchange, the United States Attorney's Office agreed to end its federal investigation entirely. And it agreed to something else, something that the agreement states explicitly in language that has since been read aloud in congressional hearings and quoted in federal court filings. The immunity extended not only to Epstein, it extended to any potential co-conspirators. We do not know, even now, who that clause was written to protect. The agreement does not name them. It does not need to. It simply ensures that whoever else might have been involved, whoever else might have visited the same properties, used the same system, appeared somewhere in the same patterns of behavior that 30-plus victims had already described to federal investigators, would never have to answer for it in a United States federal courtroom. The agreement was sealed. The victims were not told. Epstein began his 18-month sentence in 2008. He served approximately 13 months of it. For 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, he was permitted to leave the county jail under a work release program, driven to an office he maintained in West Palm Beach, and at times to his own Palm Beach home, before returning to his cell each night. Legal observers who have studied sex offender sentencing across the United States have described this arrangement, without exaggeration, as completely unprecedented. A man who federal investigators believed had abused more than 30 underage girls spent the majority of his waking hours, for more than a year, moving freely between an office and a mansion. The Department of Justice's own Office of Professional Responsibility later reviewed the handling of the case. In 2020, it concluded that Alexander Acosta had failed to ensure that victims were properly notified before the plea agreement was finalized. It called this poor judgment. It did not call it misconduct. No further consequence followed for anyone involved in negotiating or approving the agreement. The agreement remained sealed until 2009, when a judge unsealed it, which is how the public first learned, years after the fact, what had actually been negotiated in 2007. It would take another decade for any further consequence to follow. In February of 2019, a federal judge in West Palm Beach ruled that federal prosecutors had violated the Crime Victims' Rights Act by failing to confer with victims before finalizing the 2007 agreement. In July of 2019, Epstein was arrested again, this time on federal sex trafficking charges in New York, more than a decade after the original investigation, more than a decade after the 30-plus victims had first come forward, more than a decade after the 53-page indictment that was never filed. Alexander Acosta, by then serving as United States Secretary of Labor, resigned within days of the renewed public attention. We have already told you what happened next. Epstein was found dead in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan on August 10, 2019, officially ruled a suicide. His death occurred during a period when, according to the subsequent investigation, the guards assigned to monitor him were asleep and the facility's cameras had malfunctioned. 2 guards were later charged with falsifying the official logs. There is a version of this scene in Schnitzler's novella. Fridolin, standing in a hospital morgue, looking down at a body that might be the woman who saved him, unable to say with any certainty whether it is her, because the system that produced her presence in that room has also, with the same quiet efficiency, ensured that her identity cannot be confirmed. Epstein's death produced the same structural effect at a vastly larger scale. Whatever he knew, whoever else appears, named or unnamed, in the flight logs and the contact books and the surveillance footage and the financial records that 30 years of operation had accumulated, died with him, in a cell, on a morning when the people responsible for watching him were not watching. The investigation that might have followed his testimony did not happen. The co-conspirators his 2007 agreement had quietly protected did not need to be protected by that clause for very much longer, because the man whose testimony could have named them was no longer available to provide it. We are not asserting that this was arranged. We are stating, as a matter of confirmed record, that this is what happened, and that its effect on the investigation was total. One person has been held criminally accountable. Her name is Ghislaine Maxwell. She met Epstein in 1991 following the death of her father, the British media baron Robert Maxwell. She became his close associate, his companion, according to some accounts. According to the sworn testimony of multiple victims, his recruiter. She was arrested in July of 2020. In December of 2021, she was convicted on 5 counts, including sex trafficking of a minor. In June of 2022, she was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. She is currently incarcerated. An appeal to the United States Supreme Court remains pending. Her conviction confirmed, in a court of law, under the standard of proof a criminal trial requires, that the trafficking network was real, that it operated, that it had a structure and a method, and victims whose testimony a jury found credible enough to convict on. 20 years is the only significant criminal accountability this entire case has produced. One person. Out of a flight log containing 150 names. Out of a financial structure that moved through banks and estates and a private island for more than 2 decades. One person went to prison. In May of 1954, at the Hotel de Bilderberg in Oosterbeek in the Netherlands, a different kind of private gathering held its first meeting. It was organized by a Polish diplomat named Joseph Rettinger, with the support of Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands and an American banker named David Rockefeller. Its stated purpose in the early years of the Cold War was to strengthen the relationship between Western Europe and the United States, to ensure that anti-American sentiment on one side of the Atlantic did not damage the alliance both sides considered essential. It is called the Bilderberg Group. It has met every year since, in a different country each time. Somewhere between 120 and 150 people attend each meeting. Sitting and former heads of government, central bank governors, the chief executives of the world's largest corporations, prominent academics, and a small, carefully selected group of journalists. The press, as a body, is not permitted to attend or report from inside. The meetings operate under what is called the Chatham House Rule. Attendees may use the information discussed in their own work and their own decisions. They may not say who said it. It is worth being precise about what makes Bilderberg different from everything else in this series. It is not secret in the way the tomb at Yale is secret, where the building has no signage and the door has no public function. It is not secret in the way the gathering in Schnitzler's novella is secret, accessible only through a password whispered by a drunk friend. Bilderberg publishes a list of its attendees after each meeting. It publishes the general topics discussed. Anyone can find, with a simple search, who was in the room in any given year and roughly what they talked about. What it does not publish, what the Chatham House Rule specifically exists to prevent, is who said what. This is the distinction this series has tried to hold on to carefully since part 1. We are not telling you that Bilderberg secretly controls the world, or that its attendees emerge from the meeting with a unified, conspiratorial plan. That claim would be more dramatic than the truth and considerably less defensible. The actual concern is smaller, and for that reason more durable. It is that the people who shape global policy, elected officials, central bankers, the executives whose companies employ millions of people, meet privately every year to discuss exactly the subjects their public roles require transparency about, and the rule of the room guarantees that no specific position can ever be attributed to the specific person who held it. What is said in the room stays in the room. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is the room's own stated rule, published on its own website, agreed to by every attendee before they are permitted to enter. Compare this, for a moment, to the gathering Fridolin stumbled into. There, too, what happened in the room was never meant to leave it. There, too, the people inside understood the rule without needing it explained, because understanding it was the price of admission. There, too, anyone who later tried to confirm what had happened, who pressed for names, for explanations, for some acknowledgement that the event had occurred at all, found every door closed with the same patient, reasonable courtesy. Not because anyone was lying, necessarily, because the room had already decided, before Fridolin or anyone else ever asked, that confirmation was not something it was prepared to offer. Schnitzler wrote that arrangement into a single villa on a single night in 1926. It has since been formalized, published, and attended annually by the most powerful people in the world, who have given it a name and a website and a yearly schedule. The room got bigger. The rule stayed exactly the same. We want to end this episode with the FBI tip. Sometime in the mid-1990s, nearly a decade before Epstein's first arrest in 2006, the Federal Bureau of Investigation received information about what was happening on his properties. This is confirmed. It is part of the December 2025 document release. The tip arrived. Someone, somewhere inside an agency with the authority and the resources to act on it, received word that a wealthy financier was abusing underage girls. Nothing happened. Not an investigation that stalled. Not an inquiry that was opened and then closed for lack of evidence. As far as the public record currently shows, nothing happened at all. A decade passed. The 30-plus victims that investigators would eventually document in 2006 were still children, or had not yet been harmed, or were already being harmed without anyone with the power to stop it choosing to look. The phone rang in 1996 or 1997. Nobody picked it up in any way that mattered. In part 5, Now You Know, we reach the end of Schnitzler's story and the place the modern story has reached as well. Fridolin will tell Albertine everything. She will tell him about a dream she had, vivid, violent, and strange, while he was gone. And the novella will end with the two of them lying side by side, having said everything there is to say, deciding what to do with the knowledge that the world they thought they lived in has another one running alongside it. We will tell you where the documents stand as of right now, what has been released, what remains redacted, what Congress has asked and not been answered, and what accountability has and has not been delivered to the families who are still waiting for it. We will read you the names that can be read. We will sit with you in the question Schnitzler refused to answer in 1926, and that nobody since has managed to answer either. Not what should be done. Simply, now that you know, what do you do? Every door in this episode opened the same way, politely, calmly, with great patience for the person standing confused on the other side of it. And every door, once opened, revealed the same thing. Nothing to see, nothing to discuss, nothing that requires any further explanation. The warning was never a threat. It never needed to be. A threat would have meant there was something worth threatening someone over. The courtesy was the message. It said, "There is nothing here." And it said it so calmly, so reasonably, so many times that most people simply stopped asking.